Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the new Bowers& and Wilkins PX8 S2 and comparing them to the PX7 S3s that I already previously had. So originally I purchased the PX7 S3s because I got a good deal on it for a pre-owned version sold through Amazon. So I was initially looking more for just a high quality headphones that, sound great and have a lot of bass. And so that led me to the PX7 S3s. Um and so I believe I got those for about 360 bucks pre-owned. And then I recently just got the PX8 S2s. Originally I tried out the focal Bathese, but as I said in my previous video, those are returned now because there was a few issues with it that I couldn't really get over. One was the comfort, especially, and two was just the quality of the bass and everything was not up to where I wanted it. Yeah, there were some positives with it, with the sound quality of the sound stage, um, the sound quality, the highs, the mids, and everything, but the low end was where it was really lacking that finer bass and that bass detail and that low end sub bass. And so that led me to sticking with the PX7 S3s, but I wasn't totally in love with them. I really like them. They're probably the best headphones I've had since. I've had like Momentum 4s. I've had a couple of Bose headphones and some Sony's XM4s. And then so now with these Bowers and Wilkins, PX7 S3s were some of the best I had, but it was kind of leaving me wanting a little more. Maybe it was a little bit of FOMO too with the new release of the PX8 S2s. Um, but really, I was just curious about why everyone was raving about these so much, if they're actually worth the $800. I got these on a deal for, I believe, about 650, like open box or so. But yeah, I could tell. I mean, these are definitely authentic and everything. There's no like faking that. My phone recognizes and everything as PX8 S2s. Sold. I bought them from Audio 46, I believe. They're pretty reputable, and I'm not really gonna get into that. But these I got from Amazon, like uh, wholesale or something, and then these Audio 46. But they're definitely both Bowers and Wilkins, authentic. So I have been spending about a day or so with these. This isn't the most comprehensive review on YouTube, but I do want to just offer my thoughts because a lot of my journey is about finding that good set of headphones that really delivers the high vocals, the crispness, the sound stage, especially. Um, and that low end sub bass that I really like. So I'm more looking for like perfect V-shaped headphones. So that pretty much kicked off my journey to these two sets. And so far, I mean, previously I was pretty satisfied with these for the most part, except for the soundstage and the vocals are really where it was lacking, which I'll get into in a little bit. And so I tried these PX8 S2s, and immediately I noticed the soundstage being so much more wide open and spacious. Um, you can really tell that these are closed back headphones, and these kind of mimic more the open back a little bit. It's not perfect or anything. These are still closed back, with some really nice material too, by the way, which I'll get into in a little bit. But the soundstage was pretty incredible. Upon first listen and my first impressions and so. And another thing I noticed was definitely, I wouldn't say, I don't know if I would say resolution, but it was so much more crisp, and uh, the high end vocals were, oh man, what's the word I'm looking for? Just crisp and somewhat of a higher resolution or so, even though it's not totally accurate to say. But soundstage really helps the sound quality a lot. The focal bathes, the soundstage where the on those were incredible, and it's extremely noticeable on songs that have a lot of layers, especially. So I have my eighth Thor with me again, and I'm gonna be talking about some of the song list that I have. Um, this is my headphone test playlist. So I was kind of listening these back to back, just right before this video too, just to get my fresh thoughts and opinions on some of these songs as well. And my favorite one to test out was definitely Neurotica by Polyphia because that is such a detailed and layered track. Let me see if the camera can focus on it. There you go. Neurotica by Polyphia. It's a very detailed, layered track, although it doesn't have any vocals on it, but it has so much, there's a lot of bass, there's a lot of guitars, there's a lot of, just a lot of sound effects, and it's a really layered track. And so that really shined through when I had the, the PX8 S2s playing. And after the song was over, I thought back, I was like, was it really like that much of a difference between the S7 S3s? Um, and so I listened to those right after, and right away the soundstage was noticeable, as well as some like the details in the background too. They can kind of get drowned out by some of the the higher low ends on sorry, the increased volume low ends on the PX7 S3s. Um, Mid-range, I don't really ever have turned up as much, but so I can't really talk about that as much, but I think they're about similar, probably a slight edge to the S2s. But another thing I noticed on the S3s, as I get more into my playlist, like listening to Bleeders by Black Veil Breads, that was a good track with vocals, drums, everything, cymbals, was a lot of listening on the S3s brought out a lot of sibilance while listening. The high end vocals, there was a lot of sibilance and it was making it hard to really listen to it with it turned up around at the same volume as the S2s. I tried messing around with the EQ as well. I believe the on the 5 band EQ that both of these have on the Bowers and Wilkins app, it was pretty big of a difference when you turn down the EQ or the band that is from the furthest to the right, the second one. Um, Turning that down really helps with the sibilance a lot, but it really doesn't fix it completely with the S3s. The S2 PX8 S2s, it was a lot easier to listen to and a lot less sibilance. Like it was not I wouldn't say it was hurting my ears or anything listening to like really crisp vocals. Like it delivered it really well. Whereas when I go back and listen to the S3s, it was a lot more noticeable. You know, that was something I thought about even without having the both of the headphones to compare with. But yeah, the sibilance can be kind of a problem with the S3s, and it's much more narrow soundstage, which is pretty apparent listening to all genres of music. And then it it has a lot more uploaded bass, I would say, on the low end. The PX8 S2s have a really awesome low end too, but it's not overwhelming as it is on the S3s, which again you can EQ and everything. But as you turn down the low end on this, you can really hear a difference that the songs doesn't hit as hard. And then it's kind of like, well, do I really need to be using these compared to, other headphones? Like have like these Tozo $30 ones. that are really, really good for especially for the price. But those deliver a good low end too, sub bass, and pretty good vocals too. Like those are great for its price tag. It's fun to listen to songs on those, but turning down what the PX7 S3 is really good at uh kind of hurts the product, I would say. But overall, let me just talk briefly about the build quality. Like these are both really solid, amazing constructed headphones. This has a lot more plastic on it, but these are some sort of, I think, brushed aluminum or so. Um, but it's like really awesome build quality, and I like the color and everything. And I noticed these are a lot lighter than these. Not a significant amount, but it is definitely noticeable on your head. This metal like band in here that runs all the way through. Uh, Kind of has somewhat a different metal, I believe. It's definitely heavier. Just feeling in my hands, comparing it, it's definitely a little heavier. So it's not a listing like ruining experience or anything, but it's just something to point out. I don't think I would have problems with it listing long term. Focal Bethies were extremely, extremely uncomfortable, and I could not listen after like 20, 30 minutes or so. I do notice the ear cups on these. These are real leather, and they're very good and comfortable, but my ears do get way hotter in this compared to these as well. The increased weight too probably doesn't help. But yeah, I definitely notice my ears getting warmer with these, and I have to take more breaks while listening with these to kind of air out my ears or so. Um, so I would definitely never even consider using these for the gym or anything. But you know, theoretically, it would probably be a nightmare with how much ear sweat I would probably get. So just to touch on some more genres I tested out and listened to. Let's see. There's Blue Laces 2 by Nipsey, and I think that one was also a really noticeable track. To point out the soundstage. In the beginning, when before the bass kind of starts and the song kind of gets going with Nipsey on the track, kind of has like that moment where it's like, it's some sort of like fluttering sound, kind of really like brings you to this sort of environment as it kicks off the track. And so that was when I listened to the S3s on those. It was very, very, like, congested, tight feeling, on that specific part of the track. Compared to the PX8 S2s, it's much more open and expansive, and it feels like you can really, like, get lost with the music and hear the exact intention, the artist is trying to go for, on a track. And so when you're hearing multiple sound effects as they kind of pop off all around your ears. It does a much better job of having like that 3D audio effect. Both of these I believe are going to eventually get spatial audio, so I can't really comment on that for now. But this has a much better job of feeling like it's like wrapping all around your whole ear, and you can pinpoint instruments as they hit during the song much more, and it feels much more easier to get lost in the music with this. The PX7 S3s, they are super good for a lot of bass, a lot of punchy bass. That's another thing. The bass on this is like there's a lot more of it, I would say. I listen EQing them around the same and then also adjusting them per preference for each headphone in the app. And I can easily say that this has much more bass, but it's more bloated too. Sorry, I shouldn't say it has much more bass because it really doesn't. It just has much more of a punchy feeling. Like it feels like my ears are straight up being punched by the headphones as I'm listening to it, which is fun, but it's not really how I'm going to be listening to music a lot. if that makes sense. The low end rumble is about the same. I mean, the thing about that is even if they are the same, uh, in terms of the low end, like this has a much uh, tighter bass, tighter response. Like it feels like the bass I could feel with like my whole body or like my whole head, whereas these are like straight up punching my ears, which is fun too. But these are able to, I feel like, to be EQ'd to sound like these, but still have that more open sound stage. But these absolutely cannot touch these with the EQ in terms of sound stage, as well as like the crispness of vocals, instruments, and guitars. I thought sound amazing on these, but it's turned up to like a next level on these for sure, especially and that I kind of feel that way about the bass too. It just turned up to another level. Um, two other songs I wanted to touch on very briefly. This will focus are "Worthy" by the Home Team and "Midnight McGuffey's" by Dance Gavin Dance. Those are extremely layered tracks. "Worthy" has more of a bass as it kind of incorporates more of the guitars and the additional like sound effects. There's so much like background detail and everything on that track. It's so layered, but that can get lost with the like booming low end sub bass on these. Same with the vocals. It can kind of get a little lost, more like congested feeling. Whereas the PX8 S2s are so much more open and spacious and airy that it really affects every single track on every single genre. Um, but it's to be expected for what retail at $800 versus what retail at, I believe, 470 or so currently, brand new. So for the price, like these are awesome. Like these are great. ANC is about the same. I don't really notice much of a difference. I barely tested out. Same with transparency. I barely tested out, but I did notice these on first impressions. I really liked the transparency. Um, mode on that one. I don't really remember it was on this. I think it was just passable. Not really sure if it's much of an improvement, but again, it's not the point of my review. More, it was more to talk about sound quality and I guess build quality and comfort. So I think eventually, or at the end of the day, I'm going to be probably returning the PX7 S3s and just sticking with these for the next year or two and kind of feel out the market and see what else comes out. But I don't really see it getting much better than these for the price point. So yeah, I think I pretty much touched upon everything I wanted to in this video, and if it helps you out, or if it was entertaining or anything at least, please leave a like and a comment, and I'd be interested to know your experience if you have these headphones, if you have focal but these, if you have some Tozos too, those are great. Or the PX7 S2Es, just let me comment with your thoughts and I'll get back to you. All right, take care, everyone.